Live every day as if it were the last, because before you know it, time goes past and life's just not that long. Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone.
Adults never buy war toys for kids. No toy guns, no violent video games, better yet, no video games of any kind. Instead, by your own life, teach kids to enjoy long walks in nature. Teach kids by your own life to enjoy the joy of gardening, growing food and flowers. Teach kids by your own life to enjoy eating only healthy food to feel good and to be lean and healthy. Adults never buy war toys for kids. And I urge you as adults never to own any guns. I never have owned a gun, and I never want to own a gun. Parents never watch violent TV programs and movies. Never watch boxing, football, mixed martial arts on television or in person. Exercise and physical fitness, yes. Yes, yes, yes. But absolutely no to all violent sports, all movies and TV programs glamorizing violence. Sadly, when I was a teenager on our farm in Illinois, I foolishly polluted my mind watching many violent westerns. Sadly, when I was a teenager on our farm in Illinois, I wasted many precious hours watching many violent westerns. Maybe, if I had known as a teenager I am gay, and maybe if I had known as a teenager about the millions of men for thousands of years and now who enjoy being in love and making love with men, maybe I would have wanted to watch men having passionate, affectionate sex instead of watching men addicted to guns and killing each other in violent westerns. Parents join with other parents who want world fairness, world peace, and to oppose all war. Join with other parents to get Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, JROTC, out of all public schools. Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps seduces and recruits school kids into this nation's most violent gang, the U.S. military. The U.S. military has murdered far more people than all the U.S. street gangs combined. Sadly, most religious leaders, most community leaders, do not have the conscience, they do not have the balls to oppose publicly all wars. Soldiers are trained and equipped to become professional hired killers to murder on command with no conscience, often with the proud support of families and most church people. Adults, teach kids how to settle serious conflicts non-violently. Teach kids how to listen with their hearts. Teach kids how to imagine how we might feel if we were in other people's skins and situations. Most, if not all, of our ancestors came from Africa. So in that way, we all are African, regardless of our skin color. I do not like to see trash littering our streets, plastic bags, bottles, aluminum cans, paper, cigarette butts. I do not like to see trash littering our streets. But the awful truth is, the sad truth is, that filthy rich people who have no trash littering their streets, no trash littering their yards, filthy rich people who drive their cars or fly in planes thousands of miles for business or for pleasure, harm and destroy our only home, Mother Earth, far more than people who throw down litter on our streets. I strongly oppose stabbings and shootings on our streets and in our homes. I hate guns. We all are capable of terrifying violence, but I aim to live nonviolently toward all people, including those who hate me. I do not want my one-room home robbed and destroyed. I ask those who rob homes and businesses in Albuquerque, if you have or had a house, how would you feel if someone broke in, messed it up, and stole from your home? How would you feel? But the awful truth is, the sad truth is, the U.S. military seduces our young men and women into this nation's most violent gang to steal the resources and cheap labor of many smaller nations, and to murder when the U.S. government tells them to. Like it or not, realize it or not, every payer of U.S. federal income tax pays to turn our young men and women into professional hired killers to murder on command with no conscience. I have paid no federal income tax, not one damn bloody penny, for 44 years. About 1/3 of federal income tax goes for U.S. wars, past, present, future. I enjoy living simply below the U.S. federal income taxable level and below the U.S. poverty level for me as a single person. I cannot stop this government from waging wars, but I sure as hell stopped my paying for U.S. wars in federal income tax. Do most people in the United States understand why millions of people across this world fear and hate this government? The United States spends more for wars than the next 9 highest nations combined. Sadly, most U.S. politicians, preachers, priests, rabbis, community leaders do not have the conscience, do not have the balls to damn all U.S. wars that have murdered many millions worldwide. Many men, as they get older, have prostate problems, hard to piss well. To prevent and to help prostate problems, eat 2 to 4 tablespoons and a tablespoon is 3 teaspoons. But eat 2 to 4 tablespoons of raw, unsalted pumpkin seeds every day. I include them in my blended smoothies. Raw pumpkin seeds also help constipation. Raw pumpkin seeds remove worms from our intestines. And many people who have worms do not know it. Over 30 years ago, when I was shitting one day, a long white worm came out of my asshole. I guess it was a tapeworm. I didn't measure it, but I think it was about a foot or so long. And I did not know it was in me. So, a word to the wise. Marijuana can help people feel more connected to each other. Marijuana can help people feel more caring, more understanding, less addicted to money. Do we see why Richard Nixon and some of the big shots of the U.S. government have opposed marijuana? Many people on booze get crazy or violent. Does anyone get crazy or violent on only marijuana? Never buy marijuana from Mexico. The Mexican drug cartels have murdered thousands of people there. Use only organic marijuana grown in New Mexico and save money. Grow your own. I wish all my friends who drink any booze would switch completely to only organic New Mexico grown marijuana if they're going to use something. If I were ever diagnosed with a condition where my only choices were either a prescription drug from a pharmaceutical company or marijuana, I would choose marijuana, no question. Every culture on earth has wisdom and bullshit. Every culture has kindness and cruelty. Every culture has truth and insanity. I aim to learn and adopt the good and to reject the evil in every culture I contact. I constantly collect wisdom to live it and to share it with anyone interested. I want to keep learning. I want to keep making good changes in how I live until the day I die. One of my friends in prison that I write to is 53-year-old Prisma Moon, male to female trans person. In her last letter to me, Prisma Moon told me that if she had come out trans before her father died a few years ago, and if she had not been in prison at the time, her father would have killed her. Her father owned guns and would have shot her if he had known she was queer. Prisma Moon came out trans when she was almost 52, after her violently anti-LGBT father had died. We lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer people have come a long way, but we still have a long, long way to go. With over 50 nations on earth who can lock up men who have sex with men, and 11 nations on earth that can put to death men who make love with men. We have a long, long way to go. And in some, and I'm not sure exactly how many of those nations, of course, women having sex with women is also condemned. If anyone had told me when I was a kid and in my 20s, addicted to candy, ice cream, cookies, cake, and pie, that at 77, all my teeth, except a stub of one, would be gone, how could I have believed it? Would I have changed back then? I don't know. If anyone could have told me when I was a kid and in my 20s addicted to sugar shit, that at 28 I would have surgery on the retinas of both my eyes and be terrified, absolutely terrified of going blind, how could I have believed it? When I was in our country one-room elementary school, I came home and foolishly ate a big bowl of chocolate ice cream, chocolate cake. Ice cream has no fiber. Cake has very little fiber. So, when I would shit, it was an agonizing ordeal, as close as males get to what many women suffer in giving birth. I did not know about eating lots of fiber to have easy, large shits. I did not know about squatting to shit instead of sitting to shit. I stopped eating sugar shit over 40 years ago. No cake, no cookies, no ice cream, no candy. Now I eat greens, carrots, fruit, lentils, flaxseed, pumpkin seeds, herbs, and lots of fruit, lots of fiber. I woke up. I changed. We can change. I strongly support a woman's right to breastfeed her baby in public. If the mother is healthy, breastfeeding is much healthier for the baby than formula. Breastfeeding is much cheaper than formula. Breastfed babies have fewer allergies. Breastfed babies have fewer ear infections, less diabetes when they get older, less cancer when they get older, less asthma. Breastfed babies are healthier if the mothers are healthy and eat healthy. Mothers eat no meat, eat no dairy, no junk food, drink no booze, smoke no cigarettes, to reduce greatly the poisons in your breast milk. 95% of the pesticides people in this country consume are from the meat and dairy they eat. Because if the animals ate sprayed crops, chemical contamination from pesticides. The meat and the dairy concentrate those pesticides. Breastfeeding is clean. Breastfeeding is natural and safe. Breastfeeding is convenient. I strongly support a woman's right to breastfeed her baby in public. A woman wrote, "Our son John killed himself 1 year after graduating from Colorado University. He was a brilliant young man, a loving son. She says, I feel tremendous guilt over his suicide. From the time John was 9 years old, he spent a great deal of time on the computer. I encourage this," she says, "believing he would benefit from it. John sails through school with no drug or alcohol problems, had no discipline problems, but there were signs of too much withdrawal from life. John had a beautiful smile, a gentle demeanor, which she took to indicate he was okay, but he was not okay. His mother says, I now know that depression can be fueled by a lack of meaningful human contact. Excessive computer activities, online communication, video games, role-playing need to be added to the list of symptoms of clinical depression for the benefit of people like my son. We need real people, face-to-face conversations, hugs, skin-to-skin contact, to be fully human, to enjoy our lives. We need it. Many years ago, my mother said about my dad, I know him like a book. And a different time, she said about my dad, I will never understand that man if I live to be 100. And often in long-term relationships, we feel that way, knowing someone so well in many ways, but sometimes surprised, shocked by something they say or do. But this is even true of ourselves. Sometimes we're surprised, we're shocked by what we say or do. Someone with a lean, healthy body living below the poverty level is far richer than any billionaire who has a sick, fat body. Why do millions of people take far better care of their house? Why do millions of people take far better care of their car, their yard, their pets? Why do millions of people take far better care of their computer than their body? No lowrider cars, no luxury cars, no high-tech gadgets, no computers, no expensive cruises, no million-dollar mansions are as precious as a healthy, lean body. The most important material possession we each have from birth to death is our body. In families where the father or mother or both are alcoholic, children often learn three things that may stick with them until the day they die. Number one, don't trust. One day the kid comes home from school, the alcoholic parent is kind, asks the kid about his or her day, has a snack ready, and the next day the alcoholic parent curses the kid. I wish you had never been born. You're stupid, you're lazy, you never will amount to anything. The kid learns not to trust even her or his own parents. The kid also learns not to feel. Don't feel. The constant roller coaster of life at home makes no sense. It's crazy. Never knowing what mood the alcoholic parent will be in, whether kind or cursing mad. The kid in an alcoholic home learns don't talk. Don't tell other people outside the family the hell at home. If you do, and it gets back to the alcoholic parent, both parents may be mad as hell at you. You shame the family by telling the truth outside the home. Not only in families where one or both parents are alcoholic, but also in families where parents have a miserable marriage with emotional war much of the time. 3 awful lessons for those kids. Don't trust, don't feel, don't talk to others about the hell at home. And these can take many years to unlearn. And some people take these to their grave. Some people never break free their whole lives. I want to keep learning wisdom until my last breath, if possible, unless I have dementia or are in a coma. I am glad and eager to make good changes in how I live. This is one of my favorite poems. I do not know who wrote it. Entitled Handwriting on the Wall. A weary mother returned from the store, lugging groceries through the kitchen door. Awaiting her arrival was her 8-year-old son, anxious to tell her what his younger brother had done. While I was out playing and Dad was on a call, TJ took his crayon and wrote on the wall. It's on the new paper you just hung in the den. I told him you'd be mad at having to do it again. She let out a moan and furrowed her brow. Where is your little brother right now? She emptied her arms, and with a purposeful stride, she marched to his closet where he had gone to hide. She called his full name as she entered his room. He trembled with fear. He knew that meant doom. And for the next 10 minutes, she ranted, she raved about the expensive wallpaper and how she had saved, lamenting all the work it would take to repair. She condemned his actions. She condemned his lack of care. And the more she scolded, the madder she got, then stomped from his room, totally distraught. She headed for the den, to confirm her worst fears. But when she saw the wall, her eyes flooded with tears. The message she read pierced her heart with a dart. It said, "I love Mommy." Surrounded by a heart. Well, the wallpaper remained just as she found it, with an empty picture frame hung to surround it. A reminder to her, and indeed to us all, take time to read the handwriting on the wall. I took my very sick mother from our Illinois farm in Illinois to a nutrition specialist in Houston 3 times in the 1970s. And on our last trip to Houston, I met young gay Chicano Jaime Chapa. Jaime met my mother for the first time outside the restaurant where the 3 of us went to eat together. Jaime bent over her wheelchair and kissed her. Jaime, a young gay Chicano, maybe in his 20s, from the big city of Houston. My mother, a 71-year-old sick white farm woman in a wheelchair, a stranger to Jaime. But he bent over her and kissed her. My mother's own grandchildren, whom she deeply loved and who loved her, might not have kissed her in public, but Jaime did. That touched my mother's heart deeply. And then as the 3 of us sat in that Mexican restaurant, Jaime turned to my mother and asked her, "What do you think about being gay?" And I, in my mind, feared what my mother might say, putting down being gay. I had told her I'm gay a couple years before, soon after I first had sex with any man when I was 31. She told me then she had not known before that there are gay people in the world. My mother answered Jaime, "Don't you want to have children?" And back then it was not as common for gay people to adopt children. Jaime was direct with her, adult to adult, when he asked her that question. Jaime did not ignore her and speak only to me. Jaime did not just small talk with my mother, like, "How do you like our weather in Houston?" No, no, no. Jaime asked her the important question, "What do you think about being gay?" And later, Jaime volunteered to sing. And I did not know that he used to sing at that Mexican restaurant. I did not know it when we went there, when we chose that restaurant. So I brought in my cassette player from my mother's car and I taped Jaime singing Volver, Volver, one of my all-time favorite songs, one of the most loved romantic songs in Mexico and in New Mexico. And I still have that cassette recording of Jaime singing Volver, Volver over 43 years later. Jaime and I never had sex. Jaime and I did not become lovers. But if we had, my mother might have accepted him like another son or a son-in-law. I think 3 things so impressed my mother about Jaime. 1, his kissing her in public when he first met her, a stranger. 2, his honest, important question to her, adult to adult. 3, Jaime singing that beautiful romantic song, Volver, Volver. My mother loved heart-touching music, even if she did not understand the Spanish words. Spanking and hitting children harms them. Spanking and hitting kids does not make them better people. Spanking and hitting kids can lower their intelligence. Spanking and hitting kids can cause delinquency. Spanking and hitting kids cause more anxiety and depression in those kids. Spanking and hitting kids make the kids meaner and more addicted, often later, to booze and other drugs. Being a good parent depends on love and attachment, setting a good example, not the threat of pain on the kid's body. Children fear, resent the adults who hit them. When kids are in a clinic, a hospital, a jail, they usually have suffered abuse or neglect from their parents or other caretakers. And even parents who seriously harm their kids are sadly often treating those kids as those parents were raised by their parents. Cursing kids, slapping them, insulting them, threatening them can cause as much or more damage than bruises. The countries where kids are hit and spanked more have higher rates of adult violence and other crimes. We must love kids more. Love them better. Stop hitting and spanking any child. I think at least once when I was a young boy, my dad hit me. It's a hazy memory. But knowing myself as well as I do, I realize if my dad had beaten me many times, as some dads do, I might have ended up in prison or even on death row for committing violent crimes, even murder. Sadly, millions of parents, dads and mothers, hit their sons and daughters. Was the white cop who murdered George Floyd beaten as a kid? I don't know. Were some or all of the 5 Memphis black cops who murdered Tyre Nichols beaten as kids by their parents? I don't know. I do know that Dale, the terribly abused 18-year-old white man who murdered my grandparents in 1976, he was beaten as a kid by his dad. My dear friend Daniel, was beaten as a kid. Many men who suffered beatings as kids abused their own bodies with booze or heroin or cocaine or fentanyl. Many men beaten as kids become cruel cops, violent husbands, soldiers who enjoy murder on the battlefield. Hitting kids does not beat the hell out of them. Hitting kids beats the hell deeper into them. And if we hit kids years ago, and if those kids are still living, we need to apologize to them, even if it was many, many years ago. Sugar can cause and worsen 60 diseases: acne, alcoholism, allergies, anxiety, arthritis, appendicitis, asthma, behavior problems, bone loss, bloating. Sugar can cause and worsen binge eating, cancer, cataracts, colitis, constipation, depression, diabetes, difficulty concentrating, diverticulitis. Sugar can cause and worsen edema. That's where the body fills up with fluid. My mother had that. Sugar can cause and worsen fatigue, food cravings, gallstones, gout, heart disease, high bad cholesterol, low good cholesterol, hormonal problems, high blood pressure. Sugar can cause and worsen indigestion, insomnia, menstrual difficulties, liver problems, mental illness, mood swings, muscle pain, being fat, all infections, flu, colds, AIDS, tuberculosis, COVID, yeast infections. Sugar can cause and worsen multiple sclerosis, tooth decay, how well I know, ulcers, nearsightedness, early aging, hyperactivity, orneriness in kids, high triglycerides, kidney damage, kidney stones, heart disease. Sugar can cause and worsen varicose veins, emphysema, loss of minerals in the body, periodontal disease, hypoglycemia, rheumatism, eczema, psoriasis, Crohn's disease, hemorrhoids, retina holes, and detachment. How well I know. As a kid and in my 20s, I was severely addicted, as I said earlier, to ice cream, cake, cookies, candy. But I stopped eating sugar shit 40 years ago. I woke up. If we give a damn about being healthy, feeling good, our number one question when we eat something should be, is this food good for my body? Sadly, most people choose food mainly by how it tastes, or if their friends eat it, or if they see it advertised, or if they grew up eating it, what their parents, big brothers and sisters eat. For me, nutrition is far more important than just taste. Most men I am not sexually attracted to, but that still leaves many men I am sexually attracted to, but most of those men are not sexually attracted to me, or if they are, they do not show it. I'm glad for men and women as my close friends, even if I have no sexual attraction to them, and if they have no sexual attraction to me. I enjoy hugging many men and women, all ages, all colors, all sizes, unless I know they do not want my hugs. I do not want to be a pest to any friend, to any lover. I cannot make any man or woman become my friend. I cannot make any man or woman stay my friend. And I'm a fool if I try to force him or her to become my friend or to stay my friend. I cannot make any man become my lover. I cannot make any man stay my lover. And I'm a fool if I try to force him. My strong attraction for him does not guarantee his attraction for me. And much worse than having no romantic lover is being with a man who does not want to be with me. Much worse than having no romantic lover is being with a man I do not want to be with. I can survive, I can enjoy life when I have no lovers. My eyes, my heart are open every day to connecting with new lovers. I refuse to cage any lover for him to be only with me. I refuse to let any man cage me for me to be only with him. I can be openly, deeply, honestly in love with more than one man at the same time. I'm attracted to certain men who are lean and healthy, honest, humble, dependable. I'm attracted to certain men who are affectionate and passionate, devoted to fairness and peace for all people on earth. To certain men who are friendly and forgiving and warm. Many people who were taught that having sex with anyone they're not married to is sin, drink booze to turn off their shame, their guilt. And many men who were taught that having sex with men is sin. And many women who were taught that having sex with women is sin, drink booze to turn off their shame, their guilt. Drinking booze increases the risk of committing sexual assault. Drinking booze increases the danger of suffering sexual assault. Booze lowers the use of birth control. So booze causes more unwanted pregnancies. I aim never to do anything to anyone in sex that would cause him to hate me, that would cause him to fear me. All sex should be wanted and enjoyed by those having sex. I saw my mother and my dad both suffer the hell of sickness for over 30 years. I woke up, I changed to eating and living healthy. I heard my mother and my dad many times fight over money and bills. So I eventually learned to enjoy living simply below the U.S. poverty level. They and I craved and bought much stuff we did not need. My mother's passion for fairness, my mother's love of giving to others, all of this taught me to enjoy living simply below the U.S. poverty level. Seeing my mother and my dad both suffer in their miserable marriage, I avoided the cage of marriage to anyone. Yes to close friendship, yes to passionate romance, but marriage, for me? Hell no, never, never, never. My mother demanded honesty. She hated lies. She hated bullshit. My mother was honest and open with me about everything. She would have been terribly hurt if I had lied to her about anything. Maybe more hurt than if I had slapped her face. Of course, my mother did not want a lie or a slap. I see now that my coming out publicly as a gay man came partly from her passion for truth. Why should I live a lie? My coming out has no longer religious, no longer a believer in God, also came partly from my mother's passion for truth. How can I pretend to believe what I no longer believe? Yes, 56 years ago, I was a very sincere young Christian preacher. Many people on my long journey away from religion taught me to question deeply my faith and the Bible. My mother yearned to live simply. My mother yearned to live healthy. My mother yearned to live free from marriage to my dad. I wish they had parted peacefully or had never gotten married. But they stayed together 48 years until my mother died. Miserable cellmates until death in the prison of marriage. They might have been very good friends if they had never married or if they had parted peacefully. If I lived to be my dad's age of 81 when he died, I hope I am as devoted to my work as he was devoted to his work. Male gorillas have anal sex with each other. They fuck each other in their assholes. Female grizzly bears live as couples, raise families together. Male flamingo birds live as couples. Female flamingo birds live as couples. Even lifelong male couples and lifelong female couples are in species that have no lifelong male-female couples. So never again swallow the stupid lie that homosexuality and bisexuality are not natural. Homosexuality and bisexuality are common among animals, as natural as heterosexuality. Male animals have anal and oral sex with each other. They fuck each other, they suck each other, masturbate each other, court and flirt with each other. Check out the amazing book, Biological Exuberance. Biological Exuberance in our library about homosexuality and bisexuality, scientifically documented in more than 450, get that, 450 species of mammals, birds, reptiles, insects, and other animals across the world. more than 700 pages in this book, Biological Exuberance, in our library. The author, Bruce Bagamiel, Bagemihl. He drew from research conducted over the past 200 years. I would not give up my strong romantic attraction to certain men for all the money, all the fame in this world. Do kids who know me know they can ask any question about family secrets, about sex, about life, and get an honest answer? I welcome sincere personal questions from kids and adults. I choose not to answer certain questions if I choose not to. Do I explain why? If someone confided in me and asked me not to tell others? Sadly, many kids do not feel free to ask their parents and other adults sincere, honest, personal questions. Sometimes the adult gets angry, tells the kid, never ask questions like that. Go out and play. Go watch TV. I never want to shame any kid. I never want to shame any adult for asking me any honest, personal question. Sadly, in many families, there are many secrets too hot to handle. Many go to their graves having learned early not to ask certain questions because their parents and other adult relatives would get mad. Those adults slam the door shut on certain subjects. When I hear of someone committing violence, do I think, how would I feel if I were that person, especially if that person now terribly regrets what he or she did? Do I realize I could have committed that evil act? We all are capable of terrifying violence. When I hear of someone who was shot or stabbed or run down by a car, how would I feel if I were that person or the loved ones? We all are sometimes the villain doing evil, and sometimes the victim suffering evil. The more we condemn the person doing violence as a no-good devil, the harder we make it for that person to wake up and to change. Do we want that person to change? If not, are we behaving any better than the person who committed the violence? We all are more than the worst things we ever did or almost did. I very much warmly thank Mark, Eddie, Travis for their excellent help dozens of times running the cameras, the controls for this program. And thanks to all of you watching. To your health, my fresh piss. If you see me walking on the street or at some event, I invite you to talk with me if you want to. Good night.
Taste the wind, don't let it blow on by. Sing songs of love, let the music get you high. And when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine on. And when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine on.